I don't know. I can't remember what it is. Anyway,
Yeah,
we're going to talk about online dating.
let's do it. I'm excited to talk about online dating because I hate it so much.
A lot of people do, you know?
Ever, I don't know how people haven't lost their minds. It went from being, I mean, 20 years ago, Disney World almost, where it was like, oh my God, I could just choose from all these people,
Yeah.
to now the biggest headache
Yeah, it
for a
can.
lot of people if you're not doing it right or if you're not understanding it correctly, et cetera, et cetera. Plus everyone else out there making it difficult for you.
Definitely. I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like people are a little burnt out on it. And I've seen so many kind of like singles events popping up, different ones, like real life singles events. And some of them look cool, and some of them are like, I would never go to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
And
seen some as well, which really surprised me. And they were not for older people. I generally
yeah,
assume it's a lot of older people. And this was really young, hip New Yorkers at a sauna or something like that. I mean, there were more than, but
nice.
I was like, that's bold.
Yeah.
You're gonna do a cold plunge the first time you meet somebody. It's like you want to show your ugly side 6 months in, not 6 seconds in. Like but
Exactly.
yeah, they're getting popular again because it needs to be.
Yeah, as people are just, I don't know, kind of upset with the online stuff. And I mean, I understand why, like especially guys, right? All the guys I work with, they all struggle with it. And I know your clients do too. And for guys, it's kind of funny. Like guys don't need, I don't think, to do as much as women need to do online to kind of present themselves. But
Hmm,
I could
that's
be
interesting.
wrong. I could be wrong about that
I
because
think you're very wrong. Not
okay,
just could be. I think you're exponentially extremely.
exponentially wrong. Yeah, I don't know. I think guys, if they got good photos, right, that really
If.
show, the things that ladies are looking for, good energy, of course, like you're looking at photos online, so you got to have some good photos. And I think writing some good bios and kind of putting out there what it is that you're looking for and what you're not looking for to kind of filter the scene even a little bit more. And one of the biggest things I've seen is guys are terrible with their photos. It's either really bad or overly professionally done and it just kind of looks cheesy. Exactly. Instead of like really showing their real life. And
Yeah.
I know you've worked with a lot of guys curating and polishing their profiles for them. What have you seen on your end?
Oh God, the stories my eyes could tell. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, but I would say the good is about 5% of that, and bad and ugly are pretty much in the same category. So we got 95%. And that's not to blame anybody.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
nobody taught anyone how to do it, and they're doing the best that they can. And so I see a lot of really, poorly chosen pictures
yeah. Yep.
because they think that it's flattering of them coming from a place of insecurity.
Yeah, that
So
that social
no one,
math. Yep.
yeah. So no one in general would pick that photo, but for some reason that's their main photo or their first photo. Um, and so they're gauging, and this is with women as well, but I just work with men, so I see so many men's dating profiles. I do see a lot of women's as well because I'll be seeing them from my male clients, but they're definitely off on the photos. One of the biggest things that I see is the same photo, essentially. It's like this dude with the same facial expression in the same kind of outfit in a kind of similar place 6, 7 times. It's
Yeah.
um and
Doesn't
so we're not getting a sense of who he is overall. Like he's just this one note kind of s- statue.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I see a lot, I mean, there's so many things that I see, and what you were just saying, my brain was going ding, 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 because I have so much to say on all of it. Because I've been working on profiles for basically 10 years.
Yep.
Um, but to switch from photos and go to the written portion of the profile, there is the same three prompts essentially used over and over and over again. And I know exactly why. It's because the guys think, oh, these will show my most playful side
Hmm.
because they are the easiest to be playful with. And so every guy thinks that that's the one to go with. So they all end up with the same three prompts essentially. One of them's always, I mean, of course, depends on what dating site we're talking about, but one of them is always the um, two truths and a lie.
Yeah.
I'm like, can I give you three truths? Those are all bad. Stop using that one. Um,
I see a lot of women use that one as well.
they do. Everybody uses that one.
Yeah.
And so could I be proven wrong? No, never. I'm never wrong, except about this hairdo right now. But
It's very,
no,
very 80s hair,
it
but
is very 80s because I
awesome.
um
You should have
trying to feel young.
you should have teased
Uh
it up a little bit more and like went for the
well,
whole like glam rock.
I didn't bl get to blow dry it, and my hair is insane. And there's no way I was wearing it down because of it. And then I've got this neon pink lipsticks to make it more 80s looking, but
Awesome.
and I'm also old, so oh, and there goes, oh my God.
So old you don't even know how to
I'm
use
not
a laptop.
I'm not drunk. My computer's not drunk. Um, don't worry about that. Uh, so anyway, the thing that I see written about a lot is the two truths and a lie.
Hmm.
As I said, not original. It's a go-to. It's safe. But what happens is no matter essentially who it is, when you go through and you see that, it's the same experience person to person to person because no one's putting anything like that crazy original or that unique and different that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Um, and it also assumes interest, which is something that I don't love in the dating sphere, whether it's online or in person for the most part. So that prompt is saying, is usually number one, it's usually first, and it's underlying communication is you find me interesting enough to care what one would be a truth and a lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, no, we're not there yet. Like, I want to like you first and then be curious about your two truths and a lie. So that's something that I would recommend if you're going to be kind of shticky and do something like that. Do it on a date.
Yeah,
Do
dude.
it where you can
Yeah. I like
flirt and
that.
play with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I like that. So, what would you recommend for prompts? But before we get into that, so I I did a little experiment with a dating profile and
Mhm.
how all the prompts you like it's a question or a statement of some kind. I just literally put an X for every single answer.
Mhm.
Was nothing other than an X.
Mhm.
And women were like, "Oh, so mysterious."
Yes.
And they were like, "What's up with the X's?" And so it was just a fun little experiment, but it was something that everyone commented on because it was like, "What? Why would you put an X here?"
Yes. You're trying to do a pattern interrupt
Yeah.
on your dating profile. That's really it. And people don't realize that and they're doing the complete opposite. They're
Yep.
being part of the pattern. The same answers, the same safe questions. What's the most important part of a relationship? Communication. Oh, really? Never heard that one before.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't give anyone, whether it's coming from a man's profile or a woman's profile, it doesn't give them anything to hold on to and to easily bite. You want to think of it in a way like fishing. Like
Yeah.
if you're putting out a tiny little nothing worm on the line. I don't know how fishing works really, but if it's
You don't put
something
it
the
put
fish
some
can't grab
enticing
onto.
bait on that hook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's if it's just kind of like, ah, I've eaten that little tiny piece of worm 4,000 times. I'm not that hungry. It's not gonna pull in the shark. It's not gonna pull in the biggest grab. So you want to make it easy for the person, and you doing the X's, perfect.
Yeah.
Totally perfect. It's your pattern interrupt. Everyone's going to comment on it. They might go, oh, physically, like I might, and not you particularly, but like I might have swiped left on him, but this is
Yeah.
interesting enough that I'm just curious. And maybe if he answers, maybe we'll hit it off, but I'm not really thinking that, but you never know. So you end up having conversations with people that you wouldn't have because you weren't afraid to be the pattern interrupt, to be the guy in the crowd who's not doing the Hail Hitler or whatever in that picture. Like
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, just shaking it up a little bit, being a little different. And we were talking about photos in the beginning and kind of curating a nice profile, and your photos should tell a story about who you are. As a guy, like the funny thing is like we see it on social media. Girls are like, "Oh, let's make fun of all the guys like dating profiles. It's like a dude holding a fish or like the animal he just shot or whatever." It's
right,
super funny because I know those profiles are out there,
right,
and I've seen some of them from my clients, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Like this isn't."
yeah. And I
And
just used a fishing analogy, which I should know better. 'Cause I'm anti-fish photo.
But yeah,
Yeah.
like tell a story in your photos as to who you really are. And I'm a really active guy, so I share like me doing my sports and like I don't put any like social photos up there. That's a big thing that a lot of guys do. Put stuff up there with like their friends and stuff. And it's like, okay, like you probably have friends. Do we really need to put that photo? Like, can we put something else that shows a different part of you, right?
Interest. Well, okay, so you kind of cut out for a second, but I think I know what you said. So you put active photos, like skiing, sports, outdoors stuff. That's
Yes.
primarily
Yeah, that's
interesting.
pretty much what I do because that's who I am, right? I love to ski, I love to go scuba diving, I love to travel, and I want to curate my profile that either a woman might be interested in those sports themselves, or she's like, oh, okay, this guy's an active guy, he's probably busy, and and I have one that's, me in my suit, which is nice because I am a business guy and that shows who I am as well, just through a photo. So I've told a little story about my lifestyle and who I am just through my photo selection.
Okay, so usually I say, in my opinion, too many activity photos are a no.
Sure, totally.
The reason I say that, and I get it telling a story. So from my perspective, and I don't know if it's just me or women, but it feels distant. It feels like this guy can't be intimate with
Yeah.
me, with the camera. And he has this self-protection mechanism going on that keeps him behind the helmet in the snowboarding gear and behind the sunglasses when he's playing tennis and upside down when he's like windsurfing. And it's like, but who are you? I can't even get a sense of your vibe
Yeah.
because I can't see you. And
Yeah.
so, you saying that you have a picture of you in a suit, I'm assuming obviously you're not jet skiing in it. So
No,
like
no,
it's,
so like, yeah, so like I know what you're saying, right? When we're out participating in sports, for example, like what we're talking about, yeah, people have equipment on or whatever, sunglasses and stuff. Like I have a couple photos, but most of my photos are like you can see my face, like you can see my eyes, and like that's important when you're doing that.
so
Being hidden behind all the gear, that makes no sense.
So, seeing your eyes in these photos, are they eyes that are disengaged, obviously, from the camera and just super in the moment of what you're doing?
Um, some I
Or
would.
are you kind of like, hey, camera, hey, here and there?
No, it's not like cheesy stuff. Like I know what you're talking about with the camera engagement, and that's not like that. Like you can see that in some of the photos, like I'm really engaged with the camera, but also with the sport itself that I'm participating in.
Right, right. And does it feel natural? Like you
Too-
did not plan to do a photo shoot while doing this
Totally,
extreme
totally,
sport?
totally. Yeah.
Okay.
That's I'm very, very aware of all that stuff, the posy kind of stuff. Yeah. It's very in the moment, everything that I kind of like try to capture and show with a profile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm in full agreement. I would say, like, if you were my client and I was making a profile for you to let people know that that's a important part of you, I would make it two photos and the other three or four. Yeah, no, there's usually six, depending on the app you're on. And I don't usually suggest more than seven if they allow more than seven, like
Yeah.
Tinder and
I
stuff.
mean, six,
It's
it's
like,
like that's too much anyway, in my opinion.
yeah, you want to hold a little mystery and also, uh, you know, just maybe not throw up that seventh photo because it wasn't great and you feel the pressure to have more photos to show that you live. It's
Yeah.
better to it's better to hold back.
Yeah,
But
I would agree totally.
yeah.
Yep.
So for you, given all the action, sports, etc., yeah, I would limit it to two in terms of being in the sport in the moment. Then I would maybe think of having one as, hey, I just got off the, like, I don't know all the stuff you do. Like you were telling me you had some crazy equipment at your place.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if it was for sex or if it was for sports. I couldn't, it was really big. What did you have? You had like boots or something.
I don't know when. There's always
They,
crazy shit going on in my life.
yeah, they were next to your couch. I don't know if they were big.
It might have been my
I
like
don't know.
e boots or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't like it almost felt like army like. But anyway,
Oh, probably like my Doc Martens or something.
no, I know those aren't. I mean, I'm cool enough to know about Doc Martens. Anyway, I'm unless I'm envisioning it wrong, and it was a helmet for all I know.
Probably.
But I would then take one option for you to be either done with the sport in terms of just finished doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe you're kind of sweaty, but you're showing your warmth in your eyes and you're looking at the camera.
Yep.
And then I would have two that have nothing to do with it. And the reason that's my philosophy is because I think basing being liked over your hobbies that you choose to do versus just who you are
Sure.
isn't as strong. It feels like here's me naked, quote unquote.
Yeah, I do all
And
my sports
then
stupid.
and then all the sports I do is the cherry on top to how cool I am. It doesn't make me cool. It's not my entire personality.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah,
And
definitely. Like because
so
the reason I bring up my profile in sports is because a lot of guys do sports, right? But a lot of guys don't put them in action. You know, they don't put a photo of them doing their sport that they're really passionate about.
yeah. Yeah, they don't. I see a lot of guys if they do come to me with an assortment of photos, not just the ones they're using on their profile.
Mhm.
I think they generally think anything of them in motion is unflattering. So they're uncomfortable using it. Like maybe, you know, maybe one tit's hanging out of the tank top when he's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
hit the ball in pickleball or something. I think they're generally self-conscious of those. They can't
Yeah,
control how much they what they look like in those as well. as much.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, but that's real life, right? And you know,
Yeah.
I think guys should be showing because there's something to the competitive nature of the masculine, right? That's attractive to a woman. And
Hmm.
not all women, but some women.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and I think guys do themselves a disservice by not including at least one kind of action photo of like their sport or their hobby that they're involved in. And I just think it's important to put that in there. But like you're saying, and we were talking about, right? You don't want to be hidden by gear. You don't want to be like disassociated from the camera. It should be very much, like you were saying, that image captured in the moment of action.
Yeah. And I just have seen so much of the one extreme, which is
Yeah,
just I'm hiding from the camera.
yeah, yeah,
So here's me in all different positions. And then here's one kind of far away and I'm wearing sunglasses. And I'm, it's so women want to feel safe
yeah,
with, you
absolutely.
know, and if we're not able to really kind of see into your soul, so to speak, through your eyes, and there's too much of a mask, it just doesn't lead to comfort, which won't lead to safety.
Yeah,
But
and
but
trust,
yeah, no,
trust building.
yeah. But there's certainly action photos that guys should put in, and I think they should go through their photos if they don't have any currently on their dating profiles and to see what could be usable. They're probably writing a lot of stuff off that they have that they
So
didn't know was good.
yeah, so many guys do, and the guys that I've helped with profiles, I'm like, let me see your camera roll, and I'll
Yeah,
look through their camera roll, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a great photo. That's a great photo, and they're like, really? Like, because they don't understand like what makes a good photo and what talks for them. And
yeah,
I'm blessed because I worked in the world of photo. I shot professionally, so like I know what makes a good photo. I know how to tell a story through an image, and it's really funny because guys will say, "Yeah, I don't have any photos," and I look through their camera roll, and next thing you know, we've filled the whole profile, and it looks cool because
right,
they do have good photos.
right. Well, I have a client who is just refusing to get new photos, change photos, adjust photos, and he had sent me a photo of him and two of his friends, and they were out at a concert. We were on the phone, and he said, "Well, I don't have any pictures." And I said, "You just texted me a very nice picture of you and so and so and so and so. Why is that not in your profile?" And he's like, "Oh yeah. Oh yeah." Like they think the standard or something must be so high
I, yep.
that those aren't even in play,
Yeah.
perhaps. And I do feel for men though, because I coach men obviously, but them dealing with women with filters, then over filtering and
Right.
the adjusting the size of their boobs and their butt and obviously
Face,
everyone wants to,
structure, all that shit. Yeah.
yeah.
And
And so I feel bad for what guys are up against when it comes to photos because they obviously can't
sometimes
and don't want to manipulate to the extent that women do, but just the
yeah.
brazen
Yeah, because
manipulation.
women are competing against each other for the attention of that man, and so like they want to be the hottest thing since sliced bread, and
Right.
sometimes like you can tell the photos. A lot of the times you can tell the photos are manipulated, and it's like, okay, you don't really look like that. And then like women's overly curated like perfection like profiles, like oh my God, it's such a turn off. It's like where's
Yeah.
the real, that's as bad as like the dude hiding behind all of his like sports gear or whatever. The woman that's like so overly curated in her perfect photos. I'm just like, ugh, like I already know just by your photos like what kind of person you are and how important vanity in the way you're being looked at is or want to be looked at is the forefront in your of the way you want to be viewed. And yeah, it's a turnoff for a lot of guys.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up because you're getting into the nuance of online dating and the reading into things that is really helpful online that people don't do as much as I would think. And so what you just did was you added meaning to a general circle of photos that spoke more about her than any prompt she could fill out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't doing that. They're not zooming out and looking at the person as a whole and adding meaning to how they're presenting themselves. They're focused on, oh, I got to say the right thing, and she's super hot, and uh, this picture, oh my God, but everyone's probably commented on it, so I'll go, you know. And so taking a step back and zooming out and seeing someone's profile as a bigger picture, no pun
Hmm.
intended, is a really smart move. And I've had guys that I work with open in ways that are based on that, not one
Nice.
specific photo.
Nice.
Like one girl, she seemed super cool and down to earth, and so much about her profile screamed 80-year-old man. Like it was like she like loved to drink like black coffee and she was like had the newspaper on a porch or something, you know, and so that was what we ended up opening with to her. And it was seeing her. It rather than just talking at her. It was like, I see you, even though I'm teasing, and obviously you're not an 80-year-old man, and my settings are not set as a man to for a woman to,
Exactly.
you know, be open to dating an 80-year-old man. But there's there's a lot of sentimental value in that that we're not aware of in an everyday, you know, kind of vibe. We put that stuff in the back of our minds when it's actually what should be in the forefront.
Yeah, because there's a psychology to profiles. There's a deep psychology to profiles, and like when you really look at them, you can start building a profile of that person, and most likely the way they're going to be, the way they're going to act, the way they see the world, and so you kind of have to be a little careful in the way you curate them because they can tell the wrong story, like we're saying, but they can definitely tell the right story of who you are. But like that girl that you're talking about, hey, newspaper, like she's probably a homebody, probably, very homely in a in a positive way, not that
She's
way.
very cute.
Yeah, like very, very cute, probably, wanting to kind of, have the nice little couple relationship that, go to the pumpkin patch in the fall and like have the holidays at home and like decorate and all that stuff. Like very, I would say like very traditional in a sense of,
She kind of felt like an old soul.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, hey, let's just chill and like live life and take life as it comes and enjoy it in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by him noticing that, AKA me noticing that and telling him about it, they had a great, I don't know what ended up happening, and this was years ago. It's just one example that sticks in my mind, but they had a great opening back and forth exchange. And it was clear that she was touched. That's kind of a cheesy way to say it, but she felt noticed, or, you know, it was different. It was, again, that kind of breaking the pattern,
Mhm.
just doing it through your opener rather than his profile at the time.
Yeah, no, that's awesome because yeah, she put those things there for a reason, and well, you, i.e., him,
The
pi-
other woman noticed, and
yeah,
her and
picked
I
up on
should be married, but
it. You were like, oh, I like this girl,
yeah.
and and you pointed that stuff out, and had you not, he probably would have missed that and not been able to open with an appropriate line that is engaging to her and what she's presenting to the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the thing is too, when you do open up in a way that panders to her in a little bit, not where you're kissing her butt,
yeah,
but it says something not just about her, it says something about you. You're able to read between the lines and you're able to see someone and you're perceptive and insightful or unique, you know, so I don't think men have to get worried about getting lost so much and focusing on the woman in the opener. I don't know if guys worry about that too much, but I figured to say it because there is a balance where it turns into just her.
Yeah,
But
guys do worry about what to say. I mean, that's a big thing that I hear all the time. I mean, whether it's cold approach, whether it is at a party, or whether it's just even texting her because he I don't know, needs to text her because she hasn't texted him in a while, or just like opening a line on a dating app. Guys worry very much about what's the right thing to say. And well, to your point, if you play a little bit of a detective and you kind of look at what's being presented in that profile, well, you have some information there. And you and I have talked about this, like looking at photos, um, in the details in photos, not even just the person, but what else is in the environment of that photo that's going to give you a lot of indicators as to who this person is. And I had one client, he was all about this girl and they were talking about traveling or something. But what he failed to notice was that she was in Europe somewhere because I picked up on the air conditioning unit that was in the photo. And I said, hey, text this about France or whatever, because they were talking about France, I think something to the effect of like, oh, I see you were in Europe and blah, 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 blah. How was France or whatever it was. But I picked up on that little detail. And then that opened a whole conversation because she's like, how do you know? And he's like, oh, well, I saw the air conditioner in your, so making him more worldly to her because they were talking about travel. And you and I have talked about like light sockets and just like different things in the background. Like, you got Clint Eastwood up there, you've got your other little stuff up there, the K, and
this is just it's all fit. This is filler. I'm embarrassed to have the letter K. I didn't have anything to put there.
it's great.
Yeah. But yeah, your environment or where people are can say so much about the person, whether it's their home or whether it's them being out in the world somewhere. And there's such a focus on just get the number and get the that it's so much is missed that can be played with or called out, and it will surprise her. At least, if anything, it will make you stand out. And that air conditioner thing to me is perfect. Um, but I don't know if there's some men that maybe notice those things and notice nuances, but would feel creepy pointing out like, oh, I was staring at your photo so much that I noticed. And
Yep.
if that's something that does stand in their way, I say remove that thought.
Yep.
When you're acting and making choices and speaking from a place of fear, it's never going to be the right thing. So as much as you're
Oh,
aiming for the right thing,
yeah, it's definitely
you're hindering yourself by aiming for the right thing because the right thing is the generic, boring thing. So we really want the wrong right thing,
exactly right thing.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's just being astute. That's being an observationalist. That's paying attention. And, women live in the world of details. Like women pick up on so much detail in life, and guys, we don't. I mean, unless we're trained to do that or know what to look for. So when a guy does that, and a woman's like, oh, holy shit, he paid attention to the air conditioner in my photo. What else is he going to pay attention to in my life? Because I've never had a guy, pay attention to the fact that I cut my hair 6 inches shorter or whatever. So, I mean,
Right.
in and of itself, that observation is saying something about you to her, even.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. And so, like in my banter guide, I have a picture, very plain. I think you've seen it. And I break down how many details I could pull from it. It was a black and white photo with nothing barely written in the bio. And it was just detail after detail after detail. And I get a lot of response or reaction from that by guys that read it because it opens up. this whole new world that they didn't know they had access to play with and to work with. And they think it's so limited conversation. And all of a sudden they're like mind blown. Like, oh,
Yeah,
like, yeah. Oh, also that. Yup, 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 yup. And it's so obvious, but it's not obvious until someone points it out.
yeah, that you can use the environment or other details around to make a conversation starter, being curious, right? Like for cold approach, like guys that I work with, like maybe they'll stop a girl that's sitting outside of a certain type of restaurant. Well, why is she at that restaurant? What can you come up with creatively or curiosity wise to open that girl with, like, because she's at this whatever restaurant? And it's just being a little curious, a little creative will go really, really, really far. And I mean, that's cold approach. That's much harder than sending a text to a girl on a dating app, right? And the same rules apply. Like, let's get curious and let's get creative about what information we have to work with.
Yeah. One simple prompt to prompt you to say something different or open with something different would be to just think of the word why. Like you said, why is she at that restaurant?
Hmm.
Rather than the what. Everyone's looking at the what. What are they doing? What are they wearing? What are they presenting themselves to be? It's the underneath part that can get interesting if you look for the why, whether that's in person or online. Um, I have my own kind of technique approaches for online starting conversation and in person starting conversation. But it always, in either scenario, whether it's online or in person, starts with paying attention to details
Yeah,
and noticing nuance.
yeah, absolutely. Even, if you want to talk about nuance at a deeper level, even just the feeling of the photos online. How do they
Yeah.
feel? How do they make you feel? Do they make you
Hmm.
excited? Is there sensuality there? Is there sexiness there? Is it cold? Is it, what kind of tones are in that photo? Are they more dark? Are they more light? Like, what's going on? Like, all of that is at a deeper level of awareness, but it all still matters.
Yeah, yeah. It's the same thing as we mentioned talking about banter, how you want to be in touch with your guttural reaction to something.
Yeah.
And so you have to feel the same way while looking at profiles. There's no reason to shut off that gut. So if it's giving you XYZ vibes, run with that. That's going to be one of your best bets because it's based in truth, at least for you,
Hmm.
and most likely for her. Like with the old woman, old man
Yeah.
chick,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was an assumption that we made, kind of like she's an old soul, old man tease, but it was accurate. And so yeah, um, I just had like an old man moment where I'm like, wait, what am I talking about? What are we even? Are we talking about dating profiles?
Yeah. You just start a completely different
Yeah,
conversation, like in
I
the
know.
middle of conversations.
I know. I was like,
Old men do that all the time. Old people do that all the time. It's like, what?
I-
Weren't we just talking
yeah,
about this?
yeah. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
You and me
But
both.
I'm like, but seriously, what were we? No.
So from your perspective, I'll share mine too. What do you think is let's kind of present for the people that are listening and watching this. What are some of the checklist items that people should go through and look at in their profile?
So for their own profile.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I would say number one, do I repeat the same vibe in every photo,
Hmm.
which would then lead to checklist number two, which would be what you were saying. Am I telling a little bit of a story in these photos? Number three, am I blending in most likely to everybody else? If the answer is yes, just make one weird change quickly and then figure out what you want to do more permanently, but put an X in one of your questions,
Yeah, put it in.
just for like a quick pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
Um, the next thing for men to look for is how many pictures are you wearing sunglasses in? Men tend to wear a lot of sunglasses because they do feel enhanced,
Hmm.
but then we can't see your eyes and we do feel like you're hiding something.
Yep.
Um, I don't know what number we're on, but maybe if we're on, say, let's say number five, I would say look at your profile and ask, are you lying about any of yourself
Yeah,
in
that's a
these
good one.
photos?
That's a good one. Are you fabricating an image that you can't live up to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you are, like, that's what people do, but you want to adjust it because no dating scenario is going to play out long term if you're starting with a house of cards.
Yeah, totally. I
If you're
tell
looking
I
for a
tell guys,
hookup, she'll be
yeah,
disappointed when you get there in person, just like a man would be disappointed if she was,
yeah,
you know, 50
catfish.
pounds heavier than her
Yeah,
photos.
catfishing him. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He's sitting there posing with like a Lambo and shows up in a Toyota Corolla. Just
Right. Oh God, don't get me started on car photos.
yeah. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah, definitely don't. I tell guys to under promise, over deliver, right? So
totally.
come in under the radar a little bit and then over deliver once you feel that, yay, like I like this girl, like let me really, really, really shine here. And that's a better way to approach pretty much anything. And because if you come in just like a I don't know, like a wrecking ball, just swinging for the fences, and you can't deliver that time and time again. Yeah, people see through
Yeah,
quick.
I love that you said that. The not setting the expectations high and then exceeding them
Yeah.
because there's nothing and men I'm sure know the feeling as well. There's like nothing worse. I mean, there's a lot of worse things, but I don't know, maybe cancer, but there's nothing worse than the anticipation of like, oh, I'm so looking forward to meeting this person. They're so great so far, and then they fall short.
Hmm.
In women can do it as well.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like,
Oh, definitely.
no, no. And it hits so hard and it hits the moment you get there, really. And then you have to live with it for the entirety of the, I don't know, 2 hours you spend together, or maybe you cut loose early, but the rest of the night is like, shoot, darn it, disappointment. So I know it's a hard balance to strike, though, for men because they don't want to under deliver in the sense that no one will match with them and no one will go out on a date with them.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to do that. Definitely.
Right. So, what would you say is the key to finding that balance?
Yeah, I mean, it's not putting up fake photos. It's not over polishing your profile, right? Like where it's just all of these professional photos. It's about what you were saying earlier in the video here is that like what's real about this guy, you know? And if you're coming in what I would like to say is normal, you're not like the dude at hanging out that's got a photo outside like the latest and greatest, like hard to get into restaurant or club in the car photos, like play like private jet photos, like all that shit. It's like you
Yeah.
don't want to be that guy. You want to be a little what's normal, right? Maybe
Yeah.
a little twinge of something interesting about you, but more along the lines of normal. And then, if you're abnormally adventurous or like wealthy or can do certain things, then yeah, as time goes on, you drip that stuff out and really let her because women love the mystery of a man, and women love to find out about their man over time and all the little intricacies of him. And so if you just literally plop everything out there on the platter, like, well, what do you have to give over time? Not much. And
Yeah.
those relationships die quick if they even start at all, because a lot of people can see through that stuff up front pretty easy.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite topics to get into with clients is, as lame as it sounds, I'm saying to be original by using something unoriginal, but it is the peeling of the onion
Hmm.
and showing all your cards right up front. It's we want to have a little fantasy that you might possibly somewhere down the road be able to or have been Batman at
Yeah.
some point in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we want that little hope, that little magic. And obviously we know that's not really the case, but if you reveal things slowly, it gives that illusion, even though it's not an illusion, it's truth. It's actually who you are. Um, but there's so much insecurity, both coming from men and women,
Hmm.
trying to sell themselves from the get-go because online dating is competitive. And like with the girls, you had mentioned when I said something about filtering, you were like, yeah, but they're competing with all these other women.
Yeah.
And so for women, that's their version of the car photo or
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, standing in front of the most expensive restaurant.
Yep.
It's it's our version of that. But um the
And I see
problem,
that kind of stuff in a lot of women's profiles.
me too. And so what I wonder, this is an actual question from someone who's been doing this for a really long time, is do people really want that in a partner?
Yeah.
There are some that do. And so I try to, I advise against it with my clients unless I know one of them really is that guy that really is obsessed with expensive cars and showing off his money and stuff
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
And he would want a woman to match that. But
Hmm.
generally, that's not reality. And it's really not what real women are looking for. So if you, want the kind of gold digger stereotype and you put that stuff out there, cool, that's what you're gonna get. But
Yeah.
if you put stuff like that out there and you're looking for a nice woman,
Yeah.
don't be surprised when you're getting the kind of gold digger matches or the women who don't feel as substantial, feel a little bit flaky or,
Yeah.
shallow.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing is curating the profile in a sense, to the kind of the person you want to attract.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
But
so,
also remaining yourself. It's like, oh God, how do we do all of this? It's like, and I mean, to answer that, I think the answer really is you will attract the right person if you are yourself. So you don't have to try too hard to pull that person in if it's the right person.
absolutely. And then you can even kind of put that kind of filtering through what you write in some of these prompts and stuff. I remember like way back in the day when online dating came out and I was all over it. Like I thought it was the most awesome thing. I
Right.
I was like attracting all of these girls that were kind of gold digger-ish and these like flaky LA girls. And I was like, why does this keep happening? And I was like, it's not my photos. There's something going on. And it was like what I had written in my like prompt or whatever, or bio or whatever it was. Because this was only when Tinder was around back in the day. There was like,
Yeah, there were just bios then. That was
yeah, it was just like,
pre-prompt era.
yeah, exactly. And like I wrote like a very specific bio, and it was all about like women basically. And I got so many comments on that, not negative. It was like, this is really intriguing. What are you? So it sparked a lot of conversation. And like the way I wrote it was like if a guy read it, he'd be like, what? But women got it because there's so much sub context in what I wrote. And
Hmm.
through that subcontext is how I was able to filter because women would pick up on that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. That's the same route I take or would take. So when people say, I don't want this and I don't want that and I don't want this, it has a negative vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's saying you have to pre-qualify for me. It's similar to the assumption that someone's interested in your two truths and a lie already without knowing anything about you.
Exactly.
So, of course, we are so, people are so sick of coming across the same dating issues and the same type of people and trying to filter out. And so, what I recommend, I think, is probably what you did, which is rather than listing what you don't want, write passionately about what you do want.
Yeah.
So, if it's a prompt like, I know they have one in Hinge, green flags I look for.
I
And
think
so,
I've seen that one. Yeah.
yeah, so getting super into that, like, I mean, this is going to sound goofy. This is just what's coming to my head because it's one of my like quirks, but I have this like, well, I have a lot of quirks, but one of them is I think by law, all children should have to be required to watch Looney Tunes, specifically Bugs Bunny, the originals,
Yeah.
and as they get older, Seinfeld. I have other ones, other requirements as well, but that that's something that I would get really specific in with a green flag that I look for. Like if someone also agrees that it should be by law that children or teenagers or kids have to eventually watch Seinfeld, otherwise they can't enter society. That says so much about me while filtering out everyone who would not get that or appreciate it or understand it.
Yeah.
So filter by showing what you want and get very specific with some of those things. They don't have to all be that specific, but pull out a couple of your quirks. You want to, again, pattern interrupt. And so if everyone plays it safe and is too afraid to say, yeah, I think this goofy thing, XYZ, Looney Tunes, should be in existence as a law, you're not going to stand out. You're just going to continue to blend in.
Yeah.
But don't fake quirks as well.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. You got to understand your own quirks and use them to your advantage and not, yeah, not fake them. Like you
yeah,
shouldn't be faking anything in your profiles because it's gonna bite you in the ass at some point.
yeah.
Like it's just a
Literally, maybe if it could in a good
good.
way. Maybe
I mean, if you're into that kind
if
of
she
thing.
gets drunk enough.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just, you're already losing at that point if you're creating, fake stuff in profiles. Like so you're gonna get found out at some point.
Yeah. Or
So
just even, being more active than you are. Like I know for me, I, I love sleeping. I am a huge sleeper. Dave knows this
yep.
because of some late issues I've had. But that isn't something that I would hide in my profile. I would play up what one of my weaknesses maybe. They perceive it as a weakness. I perceive it as like, yep, this is who I am. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be asleep the entire time or dating, but like I freaking love sleep. So don't criticize me when, my head hits the pillow and I'm already my third dream in,
Yeah.
unless it's just a third dream into another man, then, but using your shortcomings, so to
Yeah.
speak, to your advantage is another way to stand out and is fun and is playful and is vulnerable and real and human, and people can connect to it. They can't connect to the corporate guy using the photo his office took 5 years ago, and you can tell he's holding in a fart. I mean, well, we can connect to that part. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's gross for men,
Yeah.
but that's the only part we can connect to it with it. You want to uh, be vulnerable with balance. Don't
Yeah.
want to show all of your, I wouldn't show all of my old gross sweatpants and pajama pants that I'm sleeping in when I am doing that sleeping. And if I, was to get into a relationship with that person, I would up my pajama game. I would do some adjusting because I know there's another human being involved. But, it's finding that balance of the perfectly imperfect.
Perfectly imperfect. Such a great saying.
Yeah.
And we all
I
are
mean, I know,
that.
I know that's what my hair is right now. No,
Yeah.
that is,
Like you should have got the crimper out and like crimped it or
I know. It crimps on its own. This is how it dries.
it does.
But dating profiles, it's opening up when you mentioned it in the chat, in our text. I wanted to say, I think it's a good idea to go broad, but also I wanted to say, I think it's a bad idea because I could talk about it for 24 hours straight. There's so much to say about dating profiles. It's
Yeah.
like, to me right now, we've only skimmed the surface.
I mean, I totally would agree with you. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but at the same time, there's not a lot when you know what you're doing.
Exactly. It's once you can, this is the analogy that I'll use. It's like if you're a classically trained pianist, you can then get away with making weird mistakes playing the piano because you know the piano so well that you know the right mistakes to make.
Yep.
And so I think it's similar with a profile, except I don't want to be putting that much pressure on a guy to feel like he has to be a classical profilist to then be able to make changes that are a little bit unique or quirky. But it's basically knowing the art form of the profile, knowing what works, knowing what doesn't, and then being able to make the right unique choices from there. So it's actually very simple, but maybe I'm even complicating it. I think I'm complicating it by the way I'm describing it. Because it's simple, but it's like, but it's so simple that you can complicate it, but you want to simplify it,
Yep.
you can uncomplicate it. But, yeah, there's again so many layers and so many things to say about dating profiles.
So when your clients, as well as mine, get engaged with somebody online, what are some of the common problems you see with the initial texting?
The initial line they send out never gets answered.
Yeah.
And again, it depends on what app, but it's usually left sitting there. And this is specific to Hinge because the men that I work with, we work on openers and they'll get really great and they'll send something really great and it will get replied to a lot of the time, but a lot of the time it will still sit there. She'll match with them. That's the change that they're seeing. She'll match with them, but that opener sits there.
Yeah.
And so he says hi basically in a creative way. And then she matches, and then he has to say hi again in another way.
Hmm.
And so I know that sounds kind of specific or nuanced, but it happens all the time. I think because I'm working with men on their banter specifically, and so we're working on their opening lines, and their matches are increasing and their response rate is increasing. But I'm also seeing, oh, okay, she, you're now getting more likes and matches, but the girl is still just like, okay, match with you, now work for me again. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's one thing that I used to do, and I think it's funny, is like if a guy sends a hi to her or whatever, and she doesn't respond back or anything, I'll have him write, "Hey, do you know, has whatever app, Tinder, Hinge, have they removed your profile?" And it always gets an answer.
because it freaks her out.
Yeah.
She's like, what? Why? What? And then she's thinking she lost all the matches she's super into.
Yep.
Yeah.
It works really well.
Yeah. Well, okay. So how does that work though then going forward in conversation? Do they seem to stick around or is it they get them to respond for that one line?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the guy and like what he's initially texted. A lot of the times I'm I'm trying to revive something that's been going on. And so I really have to kind of get involved and be in there for several exchanges back and forth to get her to buy in more to what's going on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that text alone, like, definitely sets him apart. And it's very, she's like, "What?" So
Yeah.
it does set him apart a little bit. And for the most part, it usually gets things going again. Not always, but
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good technique. I usually go with the double down method that I
yeah,
like
yeah,
to
yeah,
call it.
that too. That works very well.
Yeah. So sometimes it's a double down, really like owning what you said the first time, the second time.
Yep.
The other way I use the doubling down to revive conversations is sometimes the guy says something that is like a little bit like or wasn't great. There's clearly a reason she didn't answer. So on that double down, calling it out, like
Hmm.
owning, yeah,
Nice.
in a creative way. But the worst thing guys can do is not exist in reality. And so when you send, let's say, something somewhat creative as an opener, and she matches, and perhaps in that opener you did ask a question in some way, and she doesn't respond to it, you're not okay with that. You don't then feed her ego by letting her ignore you and then following up again because you're trying to get the conversation started since she matched with you. And you don't go, so how's your week going? Because you're basically saying, I'm a little bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
I just put all this effort into having a good opener for you. You didn't respond, and now I'm going to bend over and take it up the tailpipe? I don't think so. But you also don't want to be a dick about it as well.
Yeah,
So
it, there's a
there's an
fine,
art to it.
yeah, there's an art and there's a fine line to walk. I mean, like, sometimes, I will have the guys be a little aggressive when they text and, be more pointed or blunt about certain things and structure the text that way because that's what's needed to kind of break her out of this shell.
I agree as long as it doesn't come across as butthurt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. None of that stuff. No, it's very much like an ownership of the situation. And it's like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm calling you out for your
Yeah.
child behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
the same thing. Same. And so, yeah, that's basically kind of like the double down. It's much more dignified and attractive.
yeah.
The
You don't,
guy
don't want to
who,
be like the needy guy, you know? Eh,
yeah, because if she didn't respond to your opener and then you come back as the needy guy, your chances go down even further. So coming back as the I own my time and my space guy, you're putting yourself in a much better position. So, yeah, so one of the main problems I see is that, which is somewhat new because it's a Hinge specific thing. But obviously, I see a couple of lines exchanged, information only, dry, and then they each drop off. Usually it's her first. Another mistake I see is the guy trying again and again to get her to respond,
yeah. Yeah.
which is similar to what we were just talking about, but digging himself a deeper hole in the way he's going about it. I also see a pretty frequent issue of someone not aligning with their profile. So, like, I have a client right now who he's a super great guy. He's very attractive and he's very deep. in his profile, he looks like an F boy,
Yeah,
like douche, kind of like a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
douchey, you know.
yeah.
And we're changing his profile. So I will see that a bit where the guy does angle himself in a way that is so not him, which is doing maybe him a service to get one-off quick dates, but obviously not for the long term. So that happens more than I had expected. I could keep going. What do you think are some of the main problems you see? Because I've got a list of like 84 more that happen.
I mean, we covered a lot of them. It's just the biggest thing I see is just it's either lack of understanding the profile that they're looking at and not engaging with it and sending a text that is in some kind of alignment or from that observational place to like say, hey, look, I'm not just another dude swiping here. Like I checked out your profile. I'm interested in you. And like that can be communicated in the way you text. But a lot of guys, from what I've seen and what I've had to fix, is very bland, boring text, like nothing exciting about it. It's just kind of run of the mill, blending in again, like you're saying. And then, I'll go and look at that girl's profile and I'll find something that I know will trigger an emotion in her. And I'm like, send this. And sometimes the guys will freak out and they're like, I can't send that. That's too aggressive. And I'm like, send it. Like you either want to go out with her or not. And then the next thing
Right,
you know, 10 texts later, they're going out on a date. And
right.
so it's, it's very much guys are not being curious enough. They're not being creative enough in what they're texting. I just recently helped a guy. He's like, I met this really beautiful Kyrgyzstani girl, and the way he was texting her, he like sent me screenshots and everything. It was very, very, very bad. She
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
I thought you wanted because he did like I guess a cold approach and then got her number and was
Oh,
trying to get her out on a date. And and then he was like, um, it's very boring stuff. And she's like, well, I thought you told me that I was a beautiful girl and that you wanted to go out with a beautiful girl. And how can a guy like you tell me that I'm so beautiful and you can't something like she called him out on his shit. Like you can't even write anything or plan a date the way that it should be planned. Like she sent this whole thing. And I was like, well, he triggered her
hmm.
because she wrote all this stuff, which gave me a ton of information on her. And I was like, okay, do this. Commented about, oh, she told him that he was childish because he didn't ask her out on a proper date. But she had put in that profile like things that she would like to do on a proper date. And so I countered what she said. And then I said, look, like this is what we're going to do on our proper date and like played on what she had written. And the next day they had planned to go out on a date. And he
Yeah,
was like, and he didn't want to send some of the stuff that I told him to send. And I was like, just do it. Like you have nothing to lose. And he was like, wow. He's like, that was amazing that it worked. So he's like, we're going out on a date Sunday. I was like, awesome, go for
yeah. It
it.
just, it's really just get some cojones.
Yeah,
It's really what it comes down to. Stop being vanilla
yeah,
and mix in some chocolate and some
so,
orange sherbet. Like just make it different. The monotony, and we talked about that with Banter. So my entire Banter course is coming out, but what I've been doing basically for 10 years is a lot of bantering online, back and forth stuff. And I feel like a bad influence sometimes because I'm having them send something that's not even that scary or bad, and they're so afraid.
yeah,
And it's if I was sitting there physically with them, I would have to hit the send button for them.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
because they're like, no, I can't say that, I can't say that, I can't say that. It's like, yeah, you can. And then once they get the feedback of, oh my gosh, that worked,
Yeah.
they start to, of course, loosen up to it
Yep.
and can do it a bit easier. But it does seem that so many guys that come to me anyway to work with me almost want my permission.
Yeah.
Like they need every line approved. Like the thought is there in their head, possibly, but are they allowed to say it? Yes, you're allowed to say it. And so there's a lot of permission giving. And so once they decide, oh, I don't need Kristen for permission, you know, they're saving themselves a lot of money. But so many of them just don't feel like it's the right time or the right person, the right situation. But bold is the way to go. It's much more masculine. As
Especially
long as,
especially online.
yeah, and like what you said with calling out some of the stuff that she mentioned in a proper date, all that simply did, I mean, I don't know what you said, of course, but all that simply did was make her feel seen. That's it.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
was that was what she was kind of lashing out at.
Exactly.
It
That's
it
exactly
was
what she's
like,
lashing out at.
I've got everything spelled out for you.
Yeah.
Like you can't just connect the dots. It's really that simple. And so people, men, women, but a lot of women get very frustrated because it's like we've literally laid it out for you on a silver platter.
Yeah.
And the guys are still like,
Huh?
oh, and talking to her like she's a coworker
Yeah.
or a second cousin that they haven't seen in years and they're very uncomfortable and formal. It's like, no, we want to feel. So just let the guard down, be human, say the real thing. The
Yeah.
thing that feels like it takes balls to say, most likely isn't that ballsy because our threshold is so low right now.
Yeah. In the world today, oh, it's
Yeah,
100% super low because
right,
everybody's offended about everything. But
right.
yeah, I mean, guys really need to step up to plate, be more bold, just put it out there. I mean, you've got nothing to lose.
Right, literally, she wasn't in your life to begin with. The chances of her getting into your life, if you're going soft on her in conversation, as in just not erect in conversation, not to be perverse. Obviously, I don't want you to be doing sex talk, but if you're just going to have this blah, tasteless, like no salt added chicken type of conversation, you're not going to get her anyway. So you
Chicken and
might as well,
broccoli.
yeah, without salt, without pepper, without butter,
Ugh,
not even grilled, it's like just t boring. There's nothing for her to, again, grab onto or taste, just like the fish in the water who wants something to actually grab onto so they can get caught.
100%.
Yeah. And right now I'm holding back because there's a lot of how-tos, how to do all of this stuff, that I
That's another 4-hour video.
exactly. Exactly. That's why I'm holding off.
I think we covered a lot of really basic stuff to give guys a perspective and ladies, even if they watch this, what I'm seeing as a guy from women, but also what I help guys with and what you help your guys with. And I think we covered it in some pretty broad strokes to help give people a little bit of a fighting chance to find a match out there and have a good time and
Yeah.
text and hopefully get a date set up. So
Yeah. And if you're watching this and you're burnt out, not from watching us, of course, you could never get burnt out from watching us.
I've heard
But
the
but if you're
laughs
burnt,
are many.
yeah. If you're burnt out from just online dating in general, give yourself permission to take it all down, burn it down, take a couple months off and start over. It's you carry that vibe of the I'm so over this into all of your exchanges. So if you need
Yeah.
a refresh, take that time to get the
And
refresh.
I learned a hack apparently. If you delete your accounts and restart them, bumps you back to the top again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Another cool trick that I learned.
Yep. Yep. With all my clients, when we make over the profile, it's get rid of every fresh algorithm,
Yep.
fresh start. You'll be pushed to the top. And you'll be performing better because your profile will be better.
Yep.
And so the algorithm will stay in your favor for longer than it had in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So where can guys find you?
I think last time I sat in an alleyway crying. Did I say that last
I
time?
remember that alleyway. I do.
Okay. Okay. So
With
the same alleyway.
yeah, the one with the garbage dumpsters and that like little stream of unknown liquid running through the center of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't gotten out of there yet, but I'm planning a move soon, but that's where I can be found. And the website address for that is kristenandchilldating.com.
Love it. Love it.
And where can we
Guys,
find you?
we can find me, limitlessbrave.com. If you guys want to do cold approach, work on your dating, work on your connection, work on your embodiment, deep dive into your shadow material, or just get help with dating profiles and your texting, I do offer a free texting service, believe it or not, part of my circle community. If
Oh,
guys,
right.
yeah, if guys join it, they just post their text in there and I just help them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I
That's awesome.
don't know anybody else doing that.
That's like philanthropy, really.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
I'm like,
It's like, oh, you're a Christian.
I'm like,
Right.
I
It's
don't know
like,
how much
you're
time I have for all of this.
right, right. Missionaries have nothing on us when we're giving
Exactly.
out the free advice.
Absolutely. All right. Well, it's good doing another video with you, talking about another topic that we're both passionate about and helped a lot of people with.
Yeah, and we'll be back doing it some more.
Definitely.